Live.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to Reset to Healthier Relationships, open discussion Sunday night at 9. I am your course creator, Glenda Driver, here with course manager, Rufus Carpenter. Rufus and I have created this format as a safe place to discuss trials, struggles, and victories in your past and present relationships. This is a non-judgmental zone, and we encourage everyone on this call to participate and speak their truth. So before we kick off with tonight's discussion topic, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I was in an 8-year marriage that did not serve me well, where I was mentally, physically, and sexually abused. But God had a better plan for me. After over 10 years of struggling as a divorcee and a single mom of 2, I was able to get my life back on track. I moved from Virginia to Georgia, where I had no family and little to no friends, and started a brand new life. I want you to unbuckle your seatbelt, let your hair down, talk as much or as little as you like. Mr. Carpenter?
Good evening, everybody. Before I introduce myself, I want to take time out for we lost a dedicated fan. Her name is Carolyn Harrison. Carolyn Harrison was with us when we first started this, and she was a great part of the discussion. And I talked to her last Sunday, and she asked that that we redo a little bit of what we did last week. So we want to take this moment to celebrate the life and remember Carolyn Harrison. Okay, so I'm going to say a quick prayer, just really quick. Heavenly Father, we ask that you bless that family and be whatever they need in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, on that note, I'm Rufus Carpenter, and I'm your co-host tonight on Sunday night at 9. Tonight is a great night because one thing we're doing is repeating a little bit about last week, and last week was really a great subject. As a matter of fact, I had to pull the plug at 10 o'clock because we were going to go over. And our goal is that we want to talk somewhere between 20 minutes to 45 minutes. Now, we can go an hour, but we'll never go past an hour because this is Sunday night. I know a lot of you got to go to work tomorrow or you got things you want to do. So we don't want to keep you up late. All right. Now, with that said, let me tell you a little bit about who I am. I'm Rufus Carpenter, and I come in this space a little different than most. My background is a little different in the fact that I'm one of 14 kids in the Carpenter family, and we lived in a 3-bedroom house with 1 bathroom for 16 people because 14 children and 2 adults. So being in a situation like that, you really have to coordinate a lot of stuff. And by the way, I was sleeping in a bed with 4 of my siblings and then having to deal with occasional bedwetter. You can imagine how that made me understand the essence of human connection. But my story didn't stop there. I was married 27 years to the same lady. And if you know anything about marriage, you learn how to compromise, you learn how to trust, you learn how to communicate, and you really, really get that trust in there. So with that, I really understood what it is to human connection, not so much for a successful marriage, but for a successful relationship, okay? My story still didn't stop there. I joined the United States Army, and I was trained in the United States Army as an equal opportunity race, and relationship leader, which meant I had a responsibility of addressing all relationship problems within our unit. I would be the one to take the first intake. So that helped me out a lot there. So I feel very comfortable tonight talking about any subject that we dealing with relationships, okay? So especially the male perspective, I worry out on that one. All right, let's get started on tonight's topic. All right, now last week's topic was a sex talk, navigating intimacy. I can't even say the word again. I'm back again with that word, intimacy in the relationships. And that's what last week's topic was. And last week, we talked about a lot about open communication. We talked about intimacy. We talked about communication and being vulnerable. And we talked about all of that stuff. We even talked about support systems. But this week, we're going to carry on that same subject. But this week, we want to talk about a little different. we want to break it down, and we want to do what it is to recognize and respect individual boundaries and preferences when it comes to sex. Let's break it down. What are we talking about? We're talking about first, we're gonna do this in 4 segments. The first segment, we're gonna talk about understanding boundaries. The second segment, we're gonna talk about communication and consent. The third segment, we're gonna talk about navigating challenges. And then the last part of this, we're gonna talk about support systems and resources. So let's get started talking about boundaries. Okay, you want me to start, Glenda? You want to start?
You go ahead.
All right, let's talk about it. Boundaries. All right, boundaries in sex is like setting your personal lines. What do you feel comfortable with? Where do you want to be respected at? When you talk about that in relationships, you're talking about the things that'll make you comfortable, your desires and your limits. Now, we have a lot of people on the call tonight, and I appreciate that, and I'm glad everybody could be a part of this. But we ask that any question you have, you bring them out, because now is the time when we talk about it. Because your personal boundaries mean a lot in sexual relationships, or when you're being intimate with a person. Because if you don't know your boundaries, and your partner don't know your boundaries, how can you keep it safe? How can you keep it respected? How can you enjoy each other without knowing those things? Now, you can do that through communication. You can do that through trial and error. You get that frown, Glenda. What are your thoughts, Glenda? Because when I say it like that, what are your thoughts?
I think I'm big on the trial and error.
Okay, trial and error. Because
Yeah.
what feels comfortable for you? What clearly, if you set the expectations from the very beginning, then I know last week when we were talking about the sex talk and intimacy, someone mentioned that you'll automatically know when it's time. You'll know. Sometimes we don't all learn at the same speed.
Correct.
And then you want to say something, Sharon?
No. I was trying to take the record thing off. I'm sorry.
We don't all learn at the same speed. And then and this, once again, our audience is supposed to be Black females. That's the majority of our audience is Black females. And that age kind of loosely somewhere between 30 and 55 is the age group we kind of draw the most. But somebody at that age group has been through all kind of different experiences and challenges. It can be anything from trauma. It can be anything from a bad relationship. It could be anything somebody went too far. It could be so much. So when you say the person may know, you don't know what triggers they have. You don't know what they've been through. So when you're talking about that you can feel that you should know, how are you going to know? You're not a mind reader or you're not an empath. So how are you going to know? Comment on that a little bit, Glenda. So how are you going to know, Glenda?
Well, you're supposed to talk about your intimate relationship with your partner. I mean, you should already let the person know up front what you would like to do, what you won't do. You have to communicate. I'm just a little confused because I don't know too many people between the age of 30 and 55 that don't know how to speak up in regards to what they like in the bed and what they don't like in the bed. Right out the rip, oh, I don't do all that. I'm not going to do that. I think I had a lady tell me one time, she lets the man know, I'm not a Six Flag ride. So you're not going to have me all twisted all types of ways. So she let him know right out the gate. So it's, the positions are pretty limited from there because she's not a Six Flags ride.
Andre got a good point. Andre, unmute and give us your thoughts on that, Andre, because that's a good point. And that's where you're going the way I was going with this. And I want to make sure everybody understand that. Go ahead, Andre.
I was just saying that sometimes, especially established women who may be looking for a man and they've had this, I guess, this bad experience, this bad luck with men. By the time they find one, sometimes they'll just give in and just that just agree with whatever just so that they don't have to be by themselves because they know the difficulties of being this single successful woman who can't find nobody.
So I guess you're saying that they, instead of being alone or going out there and try to find somebody else, they know I'm not gonna say the devil they have. They know the person they have at home, and they know what's in store there. Instead of, so they settle for what's there, right?
The settling is the big piece from what I'm seeing. Like you'll see a beautiful woman, she'll make six figures, and because she's having difficulties with finding a man, they will in essence say, well, okay, I'll take the bus driver and do whatever the bus driver wants in the bedroom because now I at least have somebody that I'm calling my man.
Let's hear a woman's side of that. Because I understand where Andre's coming from. Who wants to weigh in on that?
I'll weigh in on that as well.
First eye. Who's the first eye? Who?
Annette would like to say something.
Okay,
go right ahead. You got the floor.
Good. I would think that with that trial and error thing, I think that works more so. I think women don't really come out the bat and say, hey, I like it this way, I like it that way, I want you to do this, I want you to do that, or how to do that, especially when it comes to intimacy, the actual sexual relationship. I think sometimes they are afraid to say what they want. And I believe the man want you to say what you want to have. That's better to know up front, but I don't think they do. I think to some point they feel like it's taboo to do that. So I think it's trial and error. You get what you get until they can kind of begin to feel comfortable and free enough to say, hey, wait a minute, let's talk about this. This is what I need or whatever. That's what I got to say.
Okay. Anybody else want to comment on either Annette or Andre's?
Well, me. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Hello, everybody. I think things are kind of changed now these day and time. I think women used to be more passive towards that, but I'm straight up. I let people know I'm your fantasy. I'm gonna tell you what I want you to do. You ain't gonna tell me nothing.
Oh, okay. All right now.
Yeah, that's what I think.
On that part.
Because a lot of women say that they're not going to train a man. If they got to train him, they don't want him.
That's
Yeah,
right.
well, they said train. I didn't say train them. No, I don't want to have to give out instructions, but I feel like, I'm going to say what I like and what I don't like, and they have a problem with it. Oh, well.
Okay. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about setting boundaries. We're talking about setting clear boundaries. Because if you set clear boundaries, it's safe. You both respect each other. And you know everybody's preferences. So that's our first segment. So that's great. Any more comments on that segment?
Yeah, this is Felicia. How you all doing?
Hi, Felicia. How you doing? This is Felicia that just got back from traveling and having all this great fun with her family and friends.
It is.
I ain't mean to bust out. I'm sorry.
It is, but I disagree with what Andre said about settling for just anyone out the box, because that might have been something, I don't even know if that's something early on, because women typically don't just settle for just a Joe Blow. They're gonna, if anyone, a mature woman is not gonna just settle just to be with a man. They'd rather be by themselves. And if she's independent, she's just not going to settle. She'd rather be by herself than to settle for someone less than what she deserves. So I disagree on that, what he said with regard to that. I've been I've been single for a while, but it's not because I couldn't find anyone, because I feel like I am very desirable. I feel like I get compliments from men all the time, but I'm not gonna settle. So it's just I'd rather be by myself and less into the person that I'm really feel like is ready to be with me, because men are still out there playing games, whether they're still out there playing games. And so it's not even about just settling for somebody. And to your point, to Glenn, to the point of the conversation about, you have to have a conversation with your partner or whoever that person is that you're engaging in with, because what one person does with one person may not work for the other partner.
Absolutely.
So you can't bring the same thing to another party that you're doing with someone in a previous relationship, because it may not be the same, it may not be, what works for the new relationship. So you have to have that conversation. And sometimes these conversations can be a hard conversation, because not everyone can take criticism, or take not even criticism. The fact that you're just telling someone your desires, it can affect a male's ego, to say that he's not doing what he's supposed to do. But you have to respect the woman's opinion and her what she desires, and so, like to Glenda's point, as the older you get, as you age, no one wants to have their legs and all tied up and flipped all around 15 different positions just to get to one end point. So, to her, to that point, but maybe that might have been someone in their early 20s, maybe, who's more flexible and all that. But when you get to a certain age in life, sex becomes less of a mute point for me. Security is more important for me at this age now. So sex is not that big of an issue for me. That's just my personal opinion. But it's important, if you're in a relationship, to have that conversation, but it's not number one priority for me. So that's just my opinion on that.
You kind of turned the corner on us a little bit with that, Felicia, and me being a male. And me being a male, and I got to uphold the male end. So don't beat me up, ladies. I got to say this. A lot of guys get the wrong impression from ladies, because a lot of times I'm told a large number of ladies fake that enjoyment, fake that pleasure, and they do it just for the man. And a lot of men think they're champions in bed, where really they're dead in bed. So how do we handle that? Because experiences, and somebody think Annette said experiences, somebody said experience is the best way. But if you're not experiencing the truth, a person's truth, what do you have to go on?
Well, you have to teach them. Like, I know one lady said that, she's not there to train. Now I understand what she means by that. But you have to teach a person or show a person where your sensual areas are at, because not everyone's sensual spots are the same. So you have to be willing to share with your partner, in my opinion, what is sensual to you, whether it's your breast, your neck, or whatever the areas are that get you where you need to be at. You have to be willing to express that information. And this is just my own personal opinion. You have to be willing to share that information, so you're not wasting a whole lot of time with trial and error, and that's just my personal opinion. But you
didn't address the question I asked. The faking. The faking.
The faking part.
Yeah, you left that all on the table. Or anybody want to jump on that part? Because being a man, I want to know the truth. I want to know is why and how and give me some kind of reasoning.
You want to know why she faked it?
Why come to that?
Why? Well, yeah, okay. Well, shame on the woman for faking it, because she shouldn't have to fake it. Why would she have to fake it? She shouldn't have to fake it. That is my point. That led up to that should be, if she told the person her areas that's more sensual to her, she wouldn't have to fake it. You understand? Okay. So she wouldn't have to fake it. If she had the conversation to say, okay, my breasts are more sensitive, it may be the left breast, may not be the right breast, but whatever area is of her body that's more sensual, that gets her to where she got to get to, she wouldn't have to fake it. You understand? So, I mean, she wouldn't have to fake it. And if someone is with a man for 10, 11, 12 years and they haven't had a true orgasm, something ain't right. True. I have spoke to women who have been with their soulmates or their husband, and they're unable to have a vaginal orgasm, or they're unable to have an oral orgasm, and they're married, but they haven't had the conversation with their husband to get to the point where they can tell them what's more sensual to them to get them where they got to get to.
Now that's bad if they married. That's pillow talk right there, baby.
Well,
You ain't doing it right.
again, that's them just, you know, they're just letting their husband do whatever's going on with that. You know, they're not having a true conversation. You know, their husbands or whoever their spouses, you know, they're not taking care of the woman first. You know, there's not one time have I been with a person in my lifetime that they have not taken care of me first and then themselves, because you have that conversation. So you know, because, you know, it's sometimes it's hard, in my opinion, this is just my personal opinion, sometimes it's harder for women, you know, to reach their orgasms. And so you have to have the conversation, because a man already know where his is coming from. You know, he already know where it's coming from. He already know his end result. But a woman, sometimes her body structure could be different. Her uterus could be tilted. It could be a number of things. So you have to guide them to where your erogenous area is, so that you don't have to go down that road, if that makes any sense.
Okay, then you kind of transition us to segment number 2. Well, segment number 2 is communication and consent. Anybody else got anything to say about boundaries before we go into section 2 of communication and consent? Any more questions about boundaries? All right, none. We're moving on in. All right, consent. Consent is a key element and relationship stages. But before I talk about consent, let's talk about the relationship stages, because we just don't get a relationship and have sex the same night or the next day or stuff like that.
Some do.
Well, let's put it this way. There is a pattern that most people follow. There's some people say 4 stages of relationship. Some people say 5 stages. Some people say 6 stages. Majority of people kind of settle on the 5 stages. And the name changes a little bit, but the meaning are the same. Okay. In a lot of people say that first stage is honeymoon stage. That's early days when you meet somebody. Oh, they're so beautiful. Oh, wow. Infatuation has a run with you, and you're just emphatic. This person can't do no wrong or right, and neither can you do wrong or right. And you lovers are just head over heels with everybody. You want to spend more time, and you want to do this together and that together. That's the very first stage, and a lot of people call that the runway. But that's the stage when you first get into all, you know, who you are and what's going on. And the next stage, which is a great transition from that, is the uncertainty stage. Or some people call it the norming stage, but for tonight, we're going to call it the uncertainty stage. And in this stage, it's when you start looking back, the lust start fading a little bit, and then you start looking about who you got, and you're trying to say, maybe this person got a quickie, or maybe, and you start saying things or start noticing stuff, and that's when you start slowing down. And that's when you're saying, wait a minute, do I have a diamond in the rough, or I just got rough? You know, and that's when you start. Yes. Do you want to say something, Yvonne?
No, I'm just listening.
Okay, and that's when you start kind of filtering out. You're gonna do this and do that. Are they a keeper, not a keeper? And then once you get out of that stage, once you kind of get your head on straight or get your sea legs under you and realize this is it or this ain't it, that's the next stage. That's the adjustment stage. It's the next stage, was the third stage. And that stage is you're gonna say no, peace out, deuces, or that's the stage when you and that person gonna buckle down and try to work the rough edges out. And this is when that communication starts. This is what we're talking about tonight. This is when you start communicating, hey, what's important to me, what's not important, and again, you know, here's what I consent to and here's what I don't consent to. Here's what I like and here's what I don't like. And that's where we find ourselves right now in this part of the conversation. We're in that stage right there, the adjustment stage. Okay, now the next 2 stages we'll go in a little further as we go down. But right now we're in that adjustment stage where now you start asking for consent and you start telling people how you actually feel and you start speaking your truth. And that's what some people call it transparency. That's the correct word. But that's when you start speaking your truth. And here is when if you go further, then that means you're the right ones. That's the shakeup. That's the either makeup or shakeup stage. So let's talk about that. So that's the key. That's the key to everything is communication. What does that communication look like? For me, if I was in a relationship, that communication was, hey, dear, let's sit down and talk. You know, we've been talking now for a couple months, and I think you got you all that in a bag of chips, sister. Let's do this thing, you know. And then I'm just having fun, guys. I don't talk like that. I'm just I'm just trying to get the conversation.
I don't know.
I'm just trying to get the conversation started now. Hold up. but that's what I was saying. Then you'll look at me and you'll say, well, hey, I'm digging you too. We can do this. And then we make that consent and we whoop. And then sometime the next morning, we've somebody gave somebody consent that night that, hey, where's the one do? And we talked about what we liked and what we didn't like. Okay. And I think, Annette, this is where you say that trial and error comes into play, right in this period somewhere. And this is where that when we said faking the orgasms and faking that, this is when the conversation should come out. Instead of faking, you should, let's talk. Hey, this ain't doing it for me. This ain't doing it for me. Now, 2 weeks ago, I made a mistake by saying this wrong. And I want to say it right tonight. Women that do cheat, the women that do tip out, 98% of them say they tip out because of sex. They're not satisfied with the sex. They're not being satisfied. Oh. And these are ladies that fake orgasm so they get the husband up so they can go out and do what they got to do. So this is where communication and consent is so important. That's so important. And there was a song I forgot the name of the song, I talk about living a lie. You know, if you're not truthful at this point in your relationship, you're setting the rest of the relationship up for failure. You're living a lie. All right, I'm doing too much talking. Somebody else need to talk.
No, keep talking.
No, somebody else need to talk. Let me hear your audience, let me hear your opinion on some of this. Anybody got any comments on this communication part?
Well, Andre says he wonders if a woman would be upset with the man for calling her out for faking the orgasm.
I don't know. We got some women. Let's ask the women. What are your thoughts about that, Glenda? I start with you first. What are your thoughts about that, Glenda?
I wouldn't say upset, but it will start a heated conversation. That's when everything could come out.
Glenda, since me and you are on the spot, and me and you, we're the host and co-host. Can I ask you a personal question?
No. Because I don't know what you're about to say. Not on this topic.
Take one for the team. You not gonna take one for the team?
Heck no.
You gonna take one for the team?
My mama might be watching this. Go ahead. I'll take one.
Have you ever faked an orgasm?
No.
Okay, I just want to ask because I didn't want to ask in our audience. So I just want to make sure because they says a lot of women do that. So
yeah, a lot of women do, and I've heard a lot of women say that they have, but I haven't been one of the ones. I've dated champions.
Awesome. But that is good. But this open communication is the key. And if you communicate your desires, it's easier because truth will actually set you free. Really. Truth will actually set you free. Okay. Now, any questions about? Go ahead.
Well, let me chime in on that because if someone is faking having an orgasm, they're either faking it because they want to get it over with. There's no other reason for them to fake it, or either the sex is just not that good. They're faking it because they want to get it over with, and because the sex is not good, and they have not, or do not want to have that hard conversation to tell the person that is not, that is not good. So it should be no reason for a woman to fake it, and a lot of times if a woman is faking it, I don't even know if a man would even know that a woman is faking it. You know, I don't even know if he would even know that if someone is faking it or not, you know. But if a woman is faking it, she's faking it because, in my personal opinion, that she wants to be over with, you know, the intimacy with that person to be done. And to get it over with, get it on and get it over with, you know, and move on to something else. You know, would be my reason, my thought about someone wanting to fake an orgasm. Because trust me, every woman wants an orgasm. I mean, who doesn't want an orgasm? That's that's the reason why people engage in sex.
Can I say something?
Yes,
Mhm.
go ahead. Were you finished? Were you finished, Felicia? Were you finished?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm
All right,
sorry.
go ahead, Sharon. Go ahead.
Okay, what about in a case that two people are totally compatible with each other, they have each other's best interests at heart, but the person is just not good in bed. They'll never be. What about in situations like that? You really don't want to just hurt their feelings, or because they're doing the best they can do.
I'm glad you asked that question. Anybody want to tackle it before I tackle it? Anybody want to tackle it?
Now, was that Sharon?
No, Sharon.
Yeah,
Now,
that was based on faking the orgasm.
okay, but you said everything else is good in the relationship.
Yes,
Okay. You know
so
what? Sometimes you gotta take the good with the bad. You gotta take the good with the bad.
So you really don't say nothing about it because they really trying to do the best they can do, and you don't want to hurt their feelings.
And I think in that particular case, if that was me, I would have to probably speak up a little bit more. I would speak up because I wouldn't want to cut them off. I wouldn't want to cut my ties with him or kick him to the curb just because he's bad in bed, because you never know what happens 5-10 years down the line.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So in cases like that, maybe faking an orgasm is not so bad because you don't want to hurt their feelings or make them feel inadequate.
You know what? But I still wouldn't fake it, because if you do it one time, okay, I'll let you go a slap with the first time, but I would definitely have a conversation afterwards, because he has to know that it's really not where it needs to be, and you maybe have to communicate and groom them a little bit to get them where you need them to be. But I wouldn't cut ties with them, and I wouldn't constantly keep faking orgasms.
Well, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Sharon, because I thought Yvonne had something to say.
So, how some people just not good at physical stuff. You got people that can learn from watching something or learn from hearing it, and some people are more physical. Some people just not physical. Their their capability is just not there.
You're absolutely right. And if the worst case scenario, maybe she would need to take charge most of the time so she can make sure she get her orgasm.
All right, Yvonne wanted to say something. Yvonne, go ahead.
Well, I think everybody's overlooking the aspect of love. I don't think I think I could argue quite successfully that it is not unheard of for someone to totally love someone who doesn't satisfy them sexually. It's not impossible. Maybe she's faking it because she doesn't because she loves him. We shouldn't overlook that. Sex is inflated, to me, part. It's not as important as mutual respect and adoration. You can love someone who doesn't satisfy you sexually. I don't think there's anything crazy or unreal about that. If you love someone, sex is just a part of that. It's not the most important part of it, though. You have a relationship and you're building a relationship, you have a family and you have a career, and you have mutual respect for each other and you have mutual interests. Sex is a part of that, but it's not what you're basing your relationship on. So it doesn't satisfy you sexually, big deal. If you love him and his feelings are important to you, there shouldn't even make an issue out of it. That's all I'm saying.
You want to say something, Sharon, before I jump in?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Yvonne, because that's something that I was going to cover, and that's going to, and matter of fact, that's transition us into section 3. This is navigating the challenges, which is section 3, which speaks to what Yvonne and Sharon just said. Love, you got to realize something. Sex and ability to have sex is not a lifetime event. Some people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, 70s, and 80s can't, there's no way, no how.
Yep.
So if that was all be all and do all, those relationships would be shot. But it's not. You've got people that love each other way into the 90s. And that's something is not the main thing. It's an important thing, but it's not the main thing. And this takes us into the last 2 stages of our relationship. And the first, I said, was honeymoon, which is the first stage. The second stage was uncertain stage, when you start realizing that this new broom don't sweep well, start leaving a little dirt in the corners. You might need to change brooms. Number 3 is adjustment stage, where you say, okay, it don't sweep well, but it's still my broom. I'm gonna love it all. Anyway, I'm gonna keep it. And that takes you to the 4th stage, which is the commitment stage. In the commitment stage is when you and that person say, hey, look, better for worse, we locking arms in this. I'm committed to making this work. I'm committed to doing all I can. I'm committed to working with you. I'm committed to being the person across the aisle that's gonna meet you halfway. And when you can't get them, I'm gonna pull you along, and we're gonna make this together. That's the 4th stage. And the 5th stage is acceptance stage. Acceptance stage, when you guys have weathered the storm, and you're going ride or die. You're going out until death do us part for real. Those are the stages. Now, in that 4th stage is where you start, I can't use the word now, navigating the challenges. And one of the challenges is sex. That's why they sell so many blue pills and yellow pills and testosterone and all that stuff, because it's very important. A lot of people, those are challenges for a lot of people. And I've met ladies that said they only want one person to touch them. And if that person can't touch them no more, they'll do without it. I've talked to ladies that's been 10, 5, 3, 4 years and haven't done nothing. And, I'd be scratching my head talking about, wow. But for them, that's not wow. That's a choice, because they're dealing with the challenges. Love has stopped wars. Love has mended fences. Love is a wonderful weapon, for good and for bad. Ask Al Green. I'm just having fun. I'm sorry. I had to do that. I apologize. I just have fun. Okay, but back to the subject. Navigating the challenges. Now, when we said something about the part about faking, and Glenda said that she would have to talk to let the guy know and say, hey, look, it's not happening, and maybe I might need to take charge, something like that in a relationship. It's no right or wrong. It's what you and your partner decide works. Now, we always said truth is always the best way, and truth will set you free. But if a person, they'll never get there no matter how, love them the way they are. Because men, we have big egos, and we can get crushed very, very easy. Believe it or not, we crush very, very easy, especially somebody we love. When that person we love hurts, we hurt. We want to be the stud. We want to be the tiger. We want to be all that stuff to you. We want to be, and that's why I think a lot of ladies fake, because of that. Because they're doing it to make sure their husband don't lose his edge, I guess, if I say it that way. Hey, Andre, help me out. Andre, you know the other man on the man.
I will say this. It's kind of interesting, because I'm listening to what you're saying, and I 100% agree with you that, yes, from a male perspective, we want to be satisfying, but I can just imagine women gonna tell it regardless. When they get upset, they're gonna say, that's why you got this size and that's why it sucks. So I'm like, just go ahead and say that up front, because it's a lot of work trying to do that anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Any ladies want to comment on this before we move on to the next section?
No, you can go ahead to the next section.
Yeah, because we're at that 38-minute mark, and right at 38-minute mark, we start reeling this thing in a little bit because our goal is somewhere between 20 and 45 minutes. So we're at the 38-minute mark, so we start reeling this in. Now, the next section is support systems and resources. What are support systems? Let's talk about that. And support systems have a network. This right here, Sunday night at 9, believe it or not, it's a support system. The framework of Sunday night at 9 is that you have 20 of your girlfriends and y'all in your living room, and you guys are there talking about relationship. And it's an open forum. It's a safe space. You don't have to worry about nobody looking at you crazy or wondering why you're saying this, because this is your chance to get out and actually say just what you feel inside. Sometimes just hearing yourself say it out in a group, it's therapeutic. You actually get it off of you. You can breathe. You can, wow. Because you don't know how many other people are suffering through the same things you're suffering through. Ladies and men in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s have been through some things. And being an African-American or Black person, we go through stuff. Society has pushed us around so much that there's so much that we go through. Sometimes we hate our own selves. So this is something that this time that we're in this container called Sunday night at 9, you can actually share your truth. You can say as much or little as you want to, and you can get it out there. Something that's been on your mind, something been worrying you, or you just didn't know how to say it, just put it out there. No one's gonna look at you funny. No one's gonna say, damn, man, she is crazy. Nobody's gonna say that stuff. Because this is not that place. This is a safe place where you can come every Sunday night at 9 and share. And you'll be surprised. Some of the things that you guys have discussed have really helped me. I've learned a lot. I've become a better person just by being a part of Sunday night at 9. Because there's some things I think I was a butthole at, but now I'm getting a lot better. Because
confession is good for the soul.
Yeah, okay, good for the soul. Because I'm learning, I'm listening, and I'm learning. I'm saying, wow, I didn't know that. And that's what this container is for. So benefit from it, use it, okay? Now, what other support systems out there? Your girlfriends, your family, your minister. And if you feel you need professional counseling, there's nothing wrong with going to see a therapist. There's nothing wrong with that. I know being Black, a lot of times we say, I'm not crazy, I'm not going there. That's gone, that stigma's gone. Everybody needs help every now and then. Every now and then you need help sorting things out.
Right.
We need that help. I'd much rather see you go get that help than hang in that pain.
Right.
PTSD, trauma, childhood trauma, stuff like that, that will mess you up. That's baggage you take into your relationships. When you're trying to be a good partner with your partner and you have baggage, and oh, by the way, a lot of that baggage is triggered. And if you don't know your triggers, and then all of a sudden, boom, you explode and mess up, that's what the psychiatrists are good for, and therapists are good for. They help you work through that and sort through some of that stuff. There's so many support systems. There's hotlines you can call. Your best, sometimes some of the stuff, a lot of people have Christian pastors and relationships with ministers and stuff like that. Those are great sources. Anybody else got any other sources for support, or any way you would tell somebody, or advocacy group or something, or some type of education for helping support in this area? Somebody told me, hold on. Anyone else?
I guess there's such thing as a sex therapist.
Yes, they are. And they call intimacy coaches too, and sex therapists and intimate coaches.
Okay.
You got them both. And now they even have male clinics now. They got clinics for men now who has ED problems. They got them all over the United States now. And this is a big thing now for guys that can't seem to connect.
Can I say something? On YouTube now, they got men speaking on different issues with men problems, and they got the coaches doing live stuff to show the men how to come about them issues. It's on YouTube.
Yep. And sometimes if your significant other has that problem, you might want to, tell them, hey, baby, come on, sit down with me and watch this. I saw this and I wanted to get your intake on it. And let them look at it with you. Yes, Annette.
I was going to say, I don't know if everybody do you remember Dr. Ruth?
Yes, I remember. Yes.
Dr. Ruth was an old lady, but she put it out there for it. I mean, that's the type of doctor that people can use as well. That type of thing.
Yes. And those resources out there. So please, please, if you're in a relationship and you're having issues, and it may not be you, it may be your significant other is having an issue. Get them the help. That's half of the equation. You're a team. If you're pulling together, you help each other. Don't let them flounder or suffer.
Right.
Help them out. All right, Glenda, you want to say anything before we start wrapping this in?
No, not at this time. Oh, yes. There was a question that came up about changing the time for our Sunday night open discussion. Currently, we have it at 9 p.m. And I just wanted to ask a few of you guys, ask the audience tonight, is 9 o'clock good for you guys on Sundays, or do you want it to be a little bit earlier? I was just thinking when I first set the time, most of the kids are gone to bed and you're winding down. Usually most people go to bed, I said most, around 10 p.m. to get ready for the upcoming week. But if you guys would like for the time to change, we're open to suggestions.
I could suggest.
I'm fine at this time, as long as it's not football season. Is the only time I have a problem.
What did you say?
She said football is the only time she have a problem with it. She's as long as it's not football time.
Oh, okay, I understand.
I think the time should change. 8 o'clock for me.
Who is that? Wait, what? Who's the person? Who's first? Go ahead.
Patty. I think the time should change. It's too late. 9 o'clock. I'm asleep.
Hi, Miss Patty.
How you doing, Rufus?
I'm doing well, thank you.
What time would you suggest?
Maybe 8. Because 9 is, you got to get up and go to work on Monday mornings.
Okay.
It's late.
I agree. And that agrees.
Okay, that's 2. I got any more? We got almost 15 people on this call. Do anybody else want to chime in on this? This is an open floor discussion.
I can't do 8.
Okay. Y'all hear me?
Who's that? Who's that could do 8?
I can't. No. This is Felicia. I can't do 8.
Okay.
Well, can y'all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, you know what I find hard about a Sunday night is, like you said, most people have to be somewhere on Monday morning, job or whatever. And it's on a Sunday night, what I find kind of hard to remind myself to do this meeting. By then I'm wound down from the weekend. And, people that got to get prepared for the next day. That's during the time period that, like you said, their kids look in the bed or they don't wind down from the day that they're getting prepared for the next day. So could it be like a day of the week that's a boring night, like a Tuesday or something?
No.
That probably wouldn't work for me because I'm still on the clock.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. I don't have that big money like Mr. Carpenter does. I got that little pocket change.
Okay, pocket change.
I got a little coins.
So I think we pretty much got it. And Glenda and I will take your suggestions and decide what's the better route. This is Glenda's podcast. She's the boss lady, so big part of the decision comes from her. And once again, I want to appreciate everybody for being part of this call. And we also want to let everybody know we start this podcast tonight by honoring Carolyn Harrison, who was one of our first and founding members of this 9 o'clock at 9. As a matter of fact, she talked to me last week about redoing the same subject again this week from last week. And that's why we carried it over into this week, this subject. She transitioned this week, so we want to make sure you keep her family in your prayers. All right. On that note, see you here next week, same time. Now, the next Sunday is Easter Sunday.
Yes, Resurrection Sunday.
Resurrection Sunday. So today is Happy Palm Sunday to you.
Yes.
But next week we're gonna do it, and we're gonna still do it, but we're not gonna stay long. We're gonna do something maybe 30 minutes and call it a night. So please, if you have the time, make sure you're with us next Sunday night. Okay, it's been fun. It's been real. Thank you, everybody, for participating.
Good
You are
night.
the best
Good
audience
night.
in the world.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good
Good
night.
night, everybody. See you next week.
Good night.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Have-
Good night.